This guy built an insulin calculator app that got 50,000 downloads, all at 13. Then, it got shut down by the FDA. 5 years later, and it's back on the App Store, and we're here to find out how he did it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hackerhouse podcast, episode 2. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you.
So, Drew, tell me more about yourself.
So I'm Drew. I'm 19 right now. I'm a freshman, Georgia Tech, comp sci major.
Nice.
I'm a big soccer player myself.
Mhm.
I've played my entire life. Still do at Georgia Tech with my friends and for fun.
Nice.
And I've always had like a passion for coding, I would say. My dad is a software architect, nothing app related, but he does database design for a big apartment company. So that's always kind of been in my mind to see, coding around. He works at home, so I'm always, watching him. And that all kind of built up into T1D1 eventually.
So, you were 13 years old. What happened? Where did it go from there?
Yeah, so I was 13, and just to kind of quickly explain like what it was like when I was diagnosed, it was a weird feeling because I didn't feel like bad. Like there wasn't any major symptoms. I wasn't, tired the whole day or like having a pain somewhere. The main symptoms is that I lost 10 pounds, which was over a couple months, so it wasn't super sudden. And I was peeing a lot. Those are really the only symptoms. So I was on my growth spurt. I was playing a lot of soccer. It was like there was some reasons I was like, okay, maybe I'm drinking a lot because I'm playing a lot of soccer, and since I'm drinking a lot of water, I'm peeing a lot more. So there were some explanations, but I ended up going to the doctor because of the weight loss. Again, feeling completely fine, and then they rushed me immediately to the hospital because my blood sugar was just through the roof, and that's where I was diagnosed with type 1. So it was a really weird feeling for me being 13. I'm literally laying in a hospital bed, feeling completely normal. I was just, going to a regular doctor's visit basically, and now I'm sitting in a hospital bed. So it was pretty crazy getting diagnosed. And then once you're diagnosed in the hospital, for me at least, my experience was very overwhelming. I was really lucky. I was at the Children's National Hospital in DC, and they're very good. Their diabetes team is amazing. They taught me a lot of things that a lot of other places don't teach kids, but it's just a lot to take in. They teach you there's this large calculation that you need to calculate insulin dosages, and this is something that you're going to depend on 5 times a day for the rest of your life, really.
Right.
So there's a lot of vital information and terminology and just concepts that you really just have to soak in less than a day, really. So it's a lot to manage right when you're diagnosed. And that's when I had the idea of there has to be some kind of app for this. And I was 13, apps are kind of like my life, apps and video games. So I searched, and there really wasn't anything I was looking for. A lot of them were too complex. You had to pay for them, or some of them, they required technology. So, for example, I have an insulin pump now. So a lot of companies will make an insulin pump that will give you insulin so you don't have to give yourself injections. And then along with the pump, you get an app that will calculate, well, it gives you insulin. So in that case, you wouldn't need my app. But my point is, from the beginning, you need to get this technology to have access, which is a very big hassle with insurance and can be very expensive.
Right. So, you noticed that there was no app?
Yeah.
And you decided to build one. I mean, if there was already one with like the technology, the insulin pump, why'd you decide to build just an app to calculate it? I'm assuming to do the calculation, right?
Yeah. So my whole thing was I saw this gap, right when you're diagnosed, you're very overwhelmed, and I didn't see anything immediately out there for free. So I thought, why not just make it myself? I wasn't fully, I think, in the moment thinking about business wise, how am I going to grow this? How many people is this going to reach? I was thinking, this is a situation I was in. I know there's a lot of other people, mainly kids, that are also in this situation. So why not make something to help them out? And so I made this app, and it took me about a month and a half to fully develop it, and I just released it for free to everyone.
So you released it on the App Store?
Yes, App Store and Google Play Store.
You're 13. Did you have any coding experience? How did you code this app?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in September of 2020. That whole summer beforehand, I spent the summer basically creating video games. I was using Unity, C# was a coding language, and that was really my first experience with some kind of like side project or just kind of like exploring coding.
Okay.
I've done like Scratch, for example, but that's where I learned the foundations of code. And then after that summer when I was diagnosed and I saw the need for this app, I had a somewhat of a foundation for coding, and I really believed that I could actually make this app, even though I had no real app experience. And coding an app is a lot different from video games. It really is like a whole new world.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole new language. I built the original version in Xamarin. Now it's built in Flutter.
Xamarin?
Yes.
Never heard of it.
It's very old. It's pretty much the whole like language is deprecated. So
Okay, wow.
it's now called Maui. That's like the newer version of it. But it used XAML as the front end, and it had C# back end.
And you could deploy cross native?
Yes, cross native, which was that was like the main priority.
Did you get any help with it, or did you just like learn the language yourself and just sat down and were like, okay, I need to implement these features. Let me figure out how. You read a book, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Honestly, I taught myself pretty much everything through like YouTube videos mainly. Searching on Google, I took I think a couple just like self-paced courses.
Yeah.
And then some YouTube videos, taught myself, and just got right into it.
Nice.
My parents were very supportive. My dad was there. He, like I mentioned, he's a software background, but nothing related to apps. And you know, now I teach him a lot of stuff about apps that he has no idea. So he would help me like problem solve, for example, if I had a bug I really didn't know. But I really did teach myself kind of all the concepts and go through it myself and troubleshoot basically all by myself.
So you build this app, right? The FDA comes in and takes it down.
Yeah.
I mean, why did they take it down? Number one, how did that feel? What was the thought process there?
Yeah, so it was about 6 months after I released it is when Apple, they actually called and said, we have to take this app down. It needs FDA clearance.
Okay.
So this was something, you know, it wasn't even on my radar originally making it. Since the app itself, the main functions of it is to just calculate insulin dosages and track it, and then it can use your customized settings. So you have 3 different settings that's different for each person. So it's very simple. It's to keep everything in one place, and you can send it to your hospital or medical provider. So since you're not actually giving yourself insulin, it's not injecting it for you, I thought, you know, it should be fine to just release it out. But apparently the FDA does not agree with that.
Okay.
So that was the reasoning, is that it's recommending insulin dosages.
Wow.
So I got the call. It got taken down from Apple. And then a couple months later on Google Play Store as well.
Wow.
And you know, it was really heartbreaking. I was making this app for other people in my situation completely for free, just releasing it out there, and it was getting taken down. I knew this process was going to take multiple years. So that was the main hurdle, I'd say, throughout this whole process. But I tried right at the beginning. Me and my parents tried making some documentation for FDA, but pretty quickly we realized, you know, we need real experts on this.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So you realize you need to get FDA approval? You're saying it's a long process. Why did you decide to undertake it?
So in total, it took 5 years to get FDA clearance, which I knew it was going to take a while at the beginning. I did not think it was going to take 5 years. But I think it all comes down to, I think a lot of entrepreneurs would say the same thing about their own startups and businesses, where if they knew the journey it would take when they were about to start, I don't know if they would have done it.
Yeah.
But you know, I was dedicated. I really do want this app out there helping people. So I really went to work from when it got taken down over the next year or two. I was networking like crazy, talking to as many people as possible, entering competitions, really just doing everything I can to seek help for this FDA process.
Nice. Okay.
And eventually I entered a competition at a company in Switzerland. They're called DCB, the Diabetes Center of Bern.
Nice.
And I didn't end up winning this competition. I did really well, but I didn't win. And I was the youngest person in the competition. They were very inspired by my story and offered to fully fund the FDA process.
Oh,
so
okay.
that was the goal that I was looking for throughout that whole period.
Nice.
And from there, they connected me with another company in Switzerland called Comerge, and they're a software development company.
Nice.
So I rebuilt the app with them, and that's in Flutter, to make sure it's fully secure. And I also added a bunch of new features in it as well. And then alongside, they had a regulatory person who would make all the FDA documentation.
Okay, interesting. So the whole thing was like the documentation part that was difficult for the FDA process.
Yes, so documentation was huge. It ended up being hundreds of documents, and each of these are long, very, very hard to read documents.
Yeah.
And very boring.
And you're 13, 14. Did you have to skip school? What was the process like?
No, so Originally, when I first developed the app, it was 2020, 2021, so it was during the COVID time.
Awesome.
So fully online school, plenty of time to develop this app. It was
Right.
honestly perfect timing. But later on, like through high school, when I was working to fully rebuild this app, I was in school, but I was spending a lot of time. I would come home 2 to 3 hours of work, maybe do some homework as well. But a lot of the time, I was just coming home, working on this app, getting stuff done. And then 2 summers ago now, I actually went out to Switzerland. And the whole summer, I worked as a quote unquote intern on my app with them to fully rebuild it in person, you know, a full like 9 to 5 job. So that was a really cool experience for me. But in total, for the whole rebuild of the app, it took 2 to 3 years. And that's to fully make the app from scratch, add a bunch of new features, add all the security features that it needed, and get all the documentation needed.
And I heard you guys did a clinical study.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so after all this, the rebuild of the app and getting all this documentation, the last step needed for the actual submission to the FDA was, it's called a human factors study. So this was a clinical trial where we ended up getting about 45 real people with type 1 diabetes to come and test the app. And the whole purpose of it is to make sure the app was safe for them to use on their own, since it's a over-the-counter app. So you don't need any prescription from a doctor. So this study was a big hurdle. It doesn't seem like much, you know, 45 people isn't that much, but if we were to fully pay for it, it was about $200,000.
Wow.
So this was something I did not have, my parents did not have.
Yeah.
And, you know, I couldn't go through this FDA until I had this done. So
You said 200,000.
yes, 200,000.
So I'm assuming the company that sponsored you ended up paying for it, or who paid?
No, actually.
Oh,
so,
you're saying because it wasn't like the full trial. Or
sort of. So that company originally who funded the FDA process,
Okay.
they funded the whole rebuild and the documentation. And the human factors study, I had to get help elsewhere, basically. So
Okay.
again, I networked. My network is a lot bigger now that I had reached out to all these companies and been talking for the last couple of years. And eventually I reached out to Dexcom, who's a large diabetes company. They make sensors to track blood sugar numbers. And they offered to run this study for me completely for free. So they
Okay.
ran it in-house.
Nice.
And it was really cool to see. They're amazing to work with. And honestly, I couldn't have gone through with FDA without their help.
So there was a lot of support there. I'm assuming after this 5-year process, it's back on the App Store. I mean, you could plug it in. I don't know. Where can people find this app? What's it called?
Yeah, sure. So it's called T1D1. It actually stands for type 1 from day one. That's the whole meaning of T1D1.
Okay, nice. That's
It's on the App Store, Google Play Store. If you just search T1D1, it'll pop up. You can also go to T1D1.org if you want to learn more and donate if you're really generous. But yeah, the current status of the app, it's out, it's fully free, there's no ads, fully published. Right now, anyone in the US, I'm working actively on expanding it to more countries. Originally, before it was taken down for FDA, it reached about 74 different countries. So it was really cool to see the outreach it had. And I'm really just trying to get it back out to everyone and get the regulatory steps needed to get in all these countries again.
How many users did you have? I mean, 74 countries. That's big.
Yeah, so the first 6 months, it got about 45,000 users.
Wow. In the first 6 months.
The first 6 months.
And then it got taken down.
Yeah.
All right. Where are you guys at now, by any chance?
So currently, as I kind of mentioned a little bit, like I'm really in the expanding process. I'm getting regulatory actions needed. I'm working on translations. So Spanish is main priority for me right now. And I really do want to remove as many barriers as possible to this care. You know, my whole mission was to keep it free and with no ads and make it as accessible as possible. So I feel like translating the app into other languages is a huge step that just reaches a lot more people.
So you want to expand to other countries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Europe.
Oh, for sure. Europe is up there, but I think the main priority for me is a lot of these third world countries.
Yeah.
Because in the US, for example, you know, there's a lot of people who could use this app and benefit from it, which is amazing. But there's also a lot of people who might not have use for it because my app is only for people who are giving themselves actual injections every day. So me, for example, I have an insulin pump now, so I don't actively need to use my app.
Okay.
But in a lot of these third world countries, everyone's giving themselves injections. And also there's a huge education problem as well. They don't understand what they need to do. They don't understand how to calculate insulin. So this app is huge to really help people live their lives and understand the disease that they have.
So how does it work? What's the formula? Do you know it off the top of your head, or is it like
Yeah,
a very
yeah.
complicated?
It's a bit hard to explain, but I'll try. I'll try to
or maybe show us
simplify.
the app. Do you have the
Yeah,
app with
sure.
you right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Show us how it works.
Sure.
All right, so we're on the app.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's three main steps to actually calculate.
All right.
So this first one, you select a bolus, meaning you're going to eat food or something. It's quick acting insulin.
All right.
And then a basal shot of insulin is you take once a day, just like it kind of coasts throughout the day. It's a longer acting insulin.
All right.
So if
we're
you
going
select
with
bolus,
all right.
yeah, and then you can enter your current blood sugar. So you can say like 150, for example.
Okay.
And then right below, you enter how much carbs you're eating. So like 23, 24, something like that.
23.
And then you click calculate. And based on my current settings that are entered in the app, it calculated, the actual calculation was 2.2, and then it rounded up to 2.0 or down to 2.0. And then there's a setting you can enable to actually show the exact calculation as well. So I have that there.
All right.
And if you want to actually learn about the calculation, if you click that button there, it shows like what each part is.
Okay.
It's not a super like difficult calculation, but if you're, you know, a 9-year-old just getting diagnosed and doing this 5 times a day is a lot. So the other like main features is at the bottom, if you want to click log it, if you want to click log it there, it'll automatically put it in the second tab, which is the insulin log.
Okay, nice. All right.
Yeah.
And then what's the food library? What's that?
So the food library is a place where you can keep common foods that you have every day.
Okay, nice.
So this is like, it's good for carb counting. So if you have, you know, the same sandwich every day, you don't have to recalculate each part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only other part that I would note is on this insulin log part, there's a share feature at the top. And this is really important because the first couple weeks that you're diagnosed, you have to share everything with your doctors.
Okay.
So all the info, when I was diagnosed, I had to literally do a voicemail every day and tell them the last 5, you know, actual readings for my blood sugar, how much insulin I gave. It's a lot of information. Their system was just not built for it.
Wow.
So this makes everything a lot easier.
That's amazing. Awesome. Yeah. All right. There we go. That's a little review of his app. Okay, now you're a college student. You're first year computer science major, and I hear you're interning. So what's the plan now? What's the aspirations? Are we gonna keep building more apps? Build a career in app development? Leave it completely and go skiing? What's the goal?
I definitely do have a passion for app development. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I'm very experienced with it. The actual intern position I'm at right now is a mobile app dev role, which is really cool.
Where are you interning?
I'm interning at Abbott.
Okay.
So they're large med tech company. And you know, I really do have a passion for mobile apps, but I wouldn't say I'm limited to working mobile app development in the future. I really do want to branch out and explore more interests.
Okay.
Because I've made a lot, you know, like side projects just for fun, learning stuff, but I really haven't explored everything. I know there's a lot more out there, especially with AI coming up as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think in the future, I'm really open to anything. I do have dreams of making some kind of startup and you know, making my own business from ground up as well. Outside
Starting
of
to make some
T1D1.
Money.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right.
Instead of begging for money.
Yeah. It's a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's one thing. Like, why can't you even charge like a dollar for your app? You know, like, what have you thought about that? What's the motivation? I mean, you already touched on it a little bit, of course, that you want to make this available for people in like third world countries. Just, you know, make it free out of the goodness of your heart, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But like, why no ads, for example?
So my thinking is, this app is very important for people with type 1. I think of it as like air that they need to breathe and to live. So removing barriers is the most important for me. And any kind of barrier, whether it's price or ads, which can be really annoying if, let's say, you're in school, you have a test, soccer practice, and an ad pops up right when you're trying to give yourself insulin. It can be very annoying. And that's something you need, and I don't want to take advantage of it. That's kind of my thinking behind it.
Okay.
And you know, even some kind of paywall, like $1, for example, it might not seem like much, but $1 can go a long way, especially in like third world countries. $1 can be a huge, you know, turnoff for an app that could really help their lives. And so I really want to make sure everyone feels comfortable using it.
So keeping it free right now, I'm assuming you have a lot of costs, right? With any app, you're hosting on the cloud, you have database backend costs, What's that looking like? How are you sustaining it right now then if it's completely free?
Yeah, so funding is definitely the biggest issue I'm facing right now. Like I mentioned before, I was able to get funding for that FDA process, and I was able to get help with the human factors trial. But right now, my main source of funding is just coming from fundraising campaigns, and I actually have a charity event set up, which is a pickleball tournament for T1D1. So that's coming up in a couple weeks, which I'm really excited about. But funding is a real struggle, and I am actively looking for corporate sponsors to, have some kind of either splash screen on the app where it says a company name, and this would allow the company to be exposed to a lot of newly diagnosed type 1s, can be very important, and it's a very important audience. And then this would also allow my app to be out there still completely for free to the end user and be able to really self-sustain itself and help even more people.
Awesome. So you're looking for sponsors then?
Yes, for sure.
All right. So guys, you know where to go. If you want to support a great cause, great application, he's the guy you go to. What would you say to someone who thinks they're too young to make an impact? Somebody's 13, even older, right? What would you say to someone who's too young to think they can make an impact right now?
I mean, you're never too young. If you have an idea, it's a great idea. Age is not a worry. If you believe you can do it, start building it. And at the very worst case, even if it doesn't blow up and make you millions of dollars, you learn something valuable, you gain experience, and you gain an edge over other people, so that other ideas that you have in the future, you know exactly how to execute it, and you can execute it better than you did before.
What are some lessons you think you learned from this 5-year process?
So networking was definitely the biggest lesson I learned. It's really great if you're super amazing at making your ideas and putting them into reality, but if you can't talk to people, if you can't market your idea, if you can't really have a sense of business and how you're going to release it and get users, you're really going to struggle. So networking is huge in order to get money for it, to get users, to really get the whole business side of it that you're missing. So if you're talking to someone and they mention a connection, you're like, oh, I really want to talk with them, just ask them. Worst they can say is no. Most of the time it's yes. You'd be surprised. And people are happy to help. If you have a good idea and a good cause, and you're not trying to take advantage of anyone, asking is you have the right to do that, and people will love to help you on that.
Have you talked to any users of the app? What do they think?
Yeah, so I actually get emails around like 2 or 3 a day of actual users of the app, giving feedback, expressing how grateful they are for the app. And a lot from like hospitals as well who are recommending it to their patients. A lot of hospitals are giving feedback and we're implementing them all the time. But 2 of the great stories that I always share that have been told directly to me through email is there was a mother who had a daughter who was just diagnosed with type 1, and before using the app, she wouldn't let the daughter sleep over at her grandparents' house because she wasn't comfortable with them being able to calculate insulin and give it safely. But with the app, she was, fully safe in allowing her to sleep over at her grandparents' house. So for me, that was a really like wholesome story. Like the app is bringing families together and just really allowing you to live your life. And another story that I've heard recently actually was an elderly man reached out and said he has Alzheimer's, and it's gotten really bad to the point where he's had to go back to injections. So he used to have technology, but now he's back. And this app has been really important for him because he doesn't want to give himself multiple injections and forget that he gave himself insulin before, which can be very lethal for him. So this app really makes it simple for him and it allows him to make sure he's giving himself insulin safely.
Wow. Well, everybody, this is our interview with Drew. Amazing young man, built an app that is helping thousands, fight type 1 diabetes, essential for their survival. This is episode 2 of the Georgia Tech Hackerhouse podcast. Thank you, Drew, so much for coming on the podcast. It was
Thank you, guys.
Really awesome having you.